Hey everyone, it's Ro with Rose Wigglers again. I'm about to be setting up some ready-to-go worm bins that'll be for sale both via our website locally and also at a vending event I'm doing at the end of the month. And so I wanted to kind of show you how I set up these bins and what that process looks like. So basically what I've got going on over here, I have two of these big stock tanks which have served as my sort of nursery and grow out bins. So essentially what I typically do is whenever I sift my breeder bins and remove the cocoons and any baby worms, I put them into here to mature, and they're creating some really nice worm castings for us along the way. So these bins have been going probably for about 6 to 8 months now. I've already completely worked through this bin here in the back. It's empty. And we're going to do the same thing with this new bin here today. And part of this also is because I want to get these bins empty because I actually have a plan to cut this down so that it's only about this deep, because you don't really need a worm bin to be this deep. It actually kind of causes some challenges, and it's not very ergonomically friendly for me right now. So that's a project for the future, but also one of the reasons why I'm emptying out this bin. I'll also be out of this ending up with a whole bunch of worm castings that will also be for sale at our future vending event and on the website. So basically what we have here is our almost, there's a lot of finished off worm castings in here. Look how gorgeous that is. Plus a whole bunch of worms just living their best life. You'll kind of see them as they go. And so I left the top off of this starting last night. So it's still a little wet, so the sifting won't go as smoothly as I would like it to, but it's going to do the job. So we're going to sift this, and basically what I'm going to be doing is the sifted worm castings will end up in this tray. I'm using my new Turbo sifter, which I absolutely love. This is made by Worm Gear. I'm not sponsored or anything. I just really like the product. And right now I have my 1/4-inch screen on here. They call it 4mm. But this is what I do for my first round of sifting to get out the worms and the larger bedding and let the smaller stuff fall through into my tray. So I put this little tray in here, and this is the bin that is going to be the ready-to-go worm bin kit. You see, I've already got on here this little sticker on the front, and this gives you instructions for how to use your worm castings when they're ready. And then we'll have a little worm blanket that we put on the top at the end that I'll show you. So I'm basically going to just set this bin down in here. This is going to be where I dump the worms, and they're live bedding because that's one of the most important parts of the ready-to-go worm bin is it's coming with all of that soil biology already ready to go, rather than introducing new worms into a sterile environment, which they really don't like. It stresses them out and makes the transition not nearly as smooth. Okay, so let's get started. Got my handy dandy recycled little thing here, container, and I'm just going to scoop a scoop out of this in here, put it into my sifter, and then I sift back and forth. And you can see the smaller materials are coming down into here, which I will later go back through. I'll let this dry a little more, and I'll go back through and sift out the cocoons and leave just the smallest, finest product as my finished worm castings that I'll sell later. And the cocoons will go back into this big bin to grow up. And now what we have left in this tray is the bigger, chunkier bits that are not broken down, which is going to serve as our live bedding for this worm bin. Plus, you see, some worms. There's not very many in this batch. Here's one, here's one, here's one. And I say that our ready-to-go worm bins usually have between 150 and 200 worms, approximately. So I'll lose count at times. It's not perfect. So if you go in and you count and you're like, I have 152 worms or something like that, that's highly possible. But I'm going to show you what I do so you know how that number works. So I'm going to throw this big chunk in here. I basically am going to eyeball, and I'm going to go through and count how many worms I see in this tray. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9. And so what's going to happen is I'm not going to see all the worms, so I'm automatically underestimating the amount that's in here because I don't want to try to rip anybody off. I'm going to, round up versus down, but I do a little bit of a count to make sure I have at least my minimum number. So that was 8, and then I'm going to do it again. Sift, sift, sift. We got this big old chunky bit. We're going to throw that back in the bottom of the big bin. You see we've got some leaves that are still pretty new, some sticks, some little bits of bedding here, and my worms. So we left off at 8, so 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and probably several more. 26. And keep going. This one still has little bits of okra in it that I just fed them yesterday. That'll just go in and feed this bin now. So what was that? 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. And I will tell you all, I love doing this. I could do it for days. As someone who struggles with seasonal depression, this is one of my winter cures, is being close to this worm castings. It actually encourages my brain to release serotonin and really makes a huge difference for my seasonal depression. So what did I say? 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 42, and sometimes I'll get like one that has like 30 worms in one batch, so this will speed up a little bit eventually, depending on where they're all hiding. Let's see, this is a little piece of pumpkin stem here. They ate all the rest of the pumpkin and said this stem is going to hang out for a long time, but they'll eat it eventually. 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 58. One day I'm going to have a big mechanized trommel and it's going to separate all this stuff really quickly. And I am really excited for when that day happens. But that's not today. They say 56. Also, just know I'm terrible with numbers, so that's part of why this is an estimate. But I do my best. So 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 67. Here's a big piece of coconut. I was experimenting the outside part of a coconut. It's taking a very long time to break down, but it will. So is that 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81. Right, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94. Almost to 100. Get this big piece in here. $95, $96, $97, $98, $99, $100. $101, $2, $3. $104, $105, $106, $107, $108. $108. $109, $110, $111, $112, $113. And I didn't mention that these ready-to-go bins come with a mixture of what I call the dynamic duo of composting, which are both red wigglers and European night crawlers. So you'll see that some worms look significantly bigger than the others. That's because it's two different breeds of composting worms, and they work really well having that diversity in the bin. Was that 114? Sure. $115, $116, $117, $118, $119, $120. $121, $122, $123, $124, $125, $126, $127, $128, $129, $130, $131, $132. Oh, this one has a lot of worms. This is going to get us to 150. 133, 134, 135, 136, 137, 138, 139, 140, 141, 142, 143, 144, 145, 146, 147, 148, 149, 150, and probably like 15 more over here. But once I get to 150, I call it. I'm going to dump all those extra ones in there too. And we know that we have more than 150 worms in this bin. Oh, and this little straggler here, he gets to go along for the ride. So, then the last couple steps I do, I'm going to level this out. I am going to top it off with some, I have some shredded cardboard here. This is going to be the fresh layer of bedding, and they'll have this a good amount of the way also broken down by the time we get to this vending event at the end of the month. Nice top layer here. And everything I put in there already is the moisture that I want it to be, which is about a damp wrung out sponge. But I'm just going to mist the top of this to help it get ready to start breaking down as well. I have this on the mist settings. I also have this hooked up to a filter, which filters out the chlorine and chloramine. If you don't have a filter at home, you can easily just let your water sit out uncovered for 24 hours and the chlorine will evaporate out of your water. Whoops. We don't want that. We want it on mist. Mist this a little bit. And I've done this enough. I know that's going to be about the right amount of moisture. For a beginner, you want to check it a little bit. And then our very last step is I have these, what I call worm blankets. It's a piece of plastic with a sticker on it that has instructions for how to maintain your worm bin. And that's on there so you have a very easily accessible reminder for when you go and you take care of your worm bin. What are the things I need to remember? What can I feed my worms? What else do I need to think about? And it's right there. And so I just tuck this little worm blanket right on top. And what this does is it keeps the moisture in the bin and keeps the light out of the bin. And that's exactly what your worms want. And that's it. Now I just have to do this about 15 more times. And I'll have 25 or 30 bins ready to go for this event. And we'll see how many people want them and where we go from there. Anyway, thanks for following along. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and please subscribe and tell your friends about it. Still working to get things launched out. And we'll see you next time.